I'm Jonquil, aka Barbie Cosplay, and I am a Titan. The first question is it's a really deep question. Wow. I think that I became a Blerd when I knew what it actually meant. I think that being a Blerd is something that wasn't obviously popular back in the day. You got made fun of. You got, in to some extreme, you got tormented by a few folk. But it wasn't an identifier, if I should say that. Like, it wasn't an identifier. It was just, you were just nerdy and black. Like, you were just a nerdy black girl or just a nerdy black boy. And that was something that, you were definitely singled out. If something was different about you, quirky, awkward, it was something that you were intentionally or unintentionally made fun of. So yeah. I think that the Blerd community did make me feel seen. I mean, it's such, you have to remember, we're in a subculture, so we're already, a minority in a type of genre or group. So, when you are branching out in this community and cosplaying and doing things other people your race aren't doing, you're definitely going to be singled out by your kinfolk or your tribe, as I call it. I definitely feel seen. And I knew something was different in high school. I knew something was different about me. And if there were Blerds in my high school, I didn't really notice at that time. Like, again, we didn't have a name for it back then, but I did have a couple of girlfriends that, of course, loved Sailor Moon and Hello Kitty before Hello Kitty was even, very popular. So I would say, amongst my friend group, we were seeing each other, we were seen by each other. But out in the public, if you weren't a Blerd, you definitely were, considered awkward, or you definitely, someone will come up to you and say, oh, if they like something, if you have on something that's kawaii or something that is, they don't know what it is. Like, oh, you're dressing up. It's not Halloween. Why are you dressing up? So you're going to kind of be seen like that, and you're a needle in a, wait, no, you're not a needle in a haystack. You're peppered throughout, but you're still kind of like seen. You stand out like a sore thumb. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. What were the fandoms that connected me to the Blerd community, or just the interest? Cosplay for one. Obviously I used to love, actually I still love Boondocks. Boondocks, and I did cosplay someone from Boondocks, and just seeing other girlies like me. And I think that was a very important piece to becoming a Blerd, or just being a Blerd, or finally accepting, okay, this is what I am. I finally found a safe space, I think everyone likes me. So I'm just going to chill here, and that's what I did. And it was very special in the beginning. It was very safe. It was very honorable. You did feel seen. Um, it was a space where you knew you were just home and comfortable. I would say a little bit after I got comfortable and I started meeting people in my home state, and online, and I got a little bit more popular with my cosplays, and then I would incorporate that with fitness. And this is a very uncomfortable truth, but before the whole trend of everyone working out and they're trying to get, their healthiest, there is some noticeable, factors where, like, with cosplaying and Blerd community and just nerd community, no one's really thinking about like their health, or it was never intertwined like that. You just cosplayed. So fitness has always been a secondary, third, fourth hobby of mine, and I just incorporated that, and I began to have issues within that community because no one was combining fitness and cosplay together, or just being healthy. So I made a video, and I just attached cosplay fitness, and I put it in a group, and it wasn't received well. And that's when I got hit with so many negative responses and comments, and a good friend of mine had to point out to me that I was actually getting body shamed, or fitness shamed or something. Fitness shamed. It was a word I've never heard before, but and I, being in this community, and just being who I am, I'm very confident, and I definitely can hold my own, and I protect myself. So I responded in a way where people felt attacked, and a whole community felt attacked. And even though I didn't mean it that way, I was really responding to someone that was fitness shaming me. So that's when it started, and I didn't understand why people were so off-putting. They were put off by someone, a woman that was just, wanting to express herself, her cosplay in a fitness video. It was very interesting, very weird to me. And that's when all the, certain rules and stipulations, like, whoa, I thought this was just a place where, I could be like truly myself. I get that a lot of people can be uncomfortable in their bodies, especially if they are overweight or if they have always been overweight. And it wasn't to taunt anyone else or to make fun of anyone else. It was just simply me expressing my love for cosplay and fitness together. So that was the beginning of a lot of people that didn't really respond well to me afterwards. Oh, I definitely felt that I couldn't express a lot of opinions and emotions and how I truly felt. I think that once you grow your popularity and your followers, or you start to get a little momentum with your cosplay, and if you are at the top of the cosplay totem pole, if there is one, and it's kind of like within any community, it's very hard to share. It's not hard, but sharing your political opinions and your religious opinions, and it becomes very biased, and people will pick and choose, and it will make you feel like you have tunnel vision and you are maybe suffocating. And it also just kind of feel like a facade at the end of the day. Like, you really truly want to be yourself and cosplay, but you still have, you're multifaceted, and I know I definitely am. So I know everyone is not like that, but when you have other things outside of cosplay that represents you tend to have, basically, when you have another life, you have a whole other life outside of cosplay. So you develop opinions, and we have our religions, and we have our thoughts and everything like that. So it's very hard to express that, because on the other hand, you have, when cosplays first started, of course you had those cosplayers that kind of did scantily clad cosplays, but now it's like you put on something orange and it's like a thong or something, and you call yourself Goku, and you're not Goku just because you have the color on, and you say that, okay, you're half naked, and then you're called a prude, or you're slut shaming or something like that. And I just think that is very extreme to how cosplay first, began and first started. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, and some people think you shouldn't put religion in such a fun hobby, and I think otherwise. So yeah, it can be very selective, and if you have your own opinions and statements, it's definitely not allowed, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Going back to how where I first felt unsafe, or there was an issue, I feel that there's very sensitive topics around the Blerd community, and as a Black community as a whole, we're not honestly at our healthiest in terms of like weight and what we eat. We're not, statistically, we're just not, we're not the healthiest, and we can be. And I think that I'm the wrong messenger, but I feel like sometimes I am the right messenger, because I do, I have a nursing background. I have, a psychology background, and it just, preaching to it will come off preaching to a certain marginalized community that, if you're talking about health and wellness and wanting to work out, it can come across as you're being fatphobic, and that's not normally the case. That's not the case at all. And someone like myself should be the right messenger, and I cosplay, and I'm a, Blerd. So if you're trying to be healthy and everything like that, you should want to kind of like, get tips and stuff like that, and getting yourself better. And now I understand, on one hand, the body positivity in the community is, I would never attack them intentionally in any harmful way, but I do feel like a lot of things falls on deaf ears when it comes to that type of, I should say, careful thinking. I have expressed myself with that. Health is number one, and I know everyone is not going to think that way. So I don't know. It's just, you know, I just don't feel like people should be called fat phobic if you are an advocate of being health and everything like that. And just, you know, it's just very interesting when it comes down to certain things like that in the Blerd community. You're shunned. People come at you with pitchforks and everything like that, and they make all kinds of excuses for how they can attack you, but you can't say anything back to them, which I think is it's an imbalance in this community. It's an imbalance for sure. Oh yes, if you know anything about me, obviously, the moment that made me distance myself from the Blerd community was I did a Mr. Popo cosplay, and I was met with so many disgusting comments and opinions about that, towards my own, from my own Blerd, obviously, Blerd people. It definitely made me feel some type of way later on when I seen another female cosplayer, a little bit more following than I have, do the same cosplay, but she was met with a different response. Let's just say it was a more pleasurable response than what I was met with. So I definitely wanted to distance myself because I seen comments from people that I actually met, like at BlerdCon and my home state cosplay conventions, and I thought they were, honestly, I didn't think they were like my friend, because I vet people now. If you want, to be in my circle, but I just an associate, and I'm very kind to them, and I was very always sweet and pleasurable to talk to. But I those people that were nice to me after that cosplay, that Mr. Popo cosplay from Dragon Ball, they were just, it was like a light switch, It was a light switch. They judged me. They said some very mean things to me, to a point where it was like, have you always felt this way about me? Like, were you always? Because it was very nasty. There were some very nasty comments that I seen. And you're going to get criticism. I understand that. Especially if you put anything out on the internet, you're definitely going to get the criticism from people. But it was just, it was more so like a personal attack, and I didn't deserve that, and I'm one of the nicest people that you will ever know. I might be different. I am neurodivergent, so I might, think different and cosplay different characters, but it's all out of like good fun. And if people have an issue with me, you can always DM me, and I'm always gonna remain respectful towards you at the end of the day, I was free. No. I honestly, no, I did feel free. I felt free of all obligations, honestly, because it kind of would feel like you have something choking around your neck, and you can't express yourself the way you want to in all of the above. So I felt that I felt free. It's as simple as that. I could just express myself more freely. I think that there is always room for improvement in any community. I definitely think so. We have a whole new batch of younger cosplayers that are coming in, and they are coming in and we they have a different aspect on things. So I think it is up to us older or OGs to kind of steer them straight in a way where it's not too stuffy, and so they still can express themselves, but still kind of be respectful and respect the craft of it and just the culture. I do feel that there are moments of just stagnant situations where it is what it is. This group of people is what it is, and it can get nauseating and exhausting. But I honestly feel that there's always room for improvement, and I think that we all hold a responsibility to that evolvement, especially when with the passing of Squid Kid, Ash, and what happened with her, being more supportive with each other, being honest with each other, and having honest conversations about our community, having those hard conversations that people are afraid to have, and just completely honestly caring for one another, because I just don't feel like that's actually a thing. There, obviously we're all connected by just being Black and just nerdy, of course, but just really truly extending an olive branch to your fellow Blerd, and really truly understanding if they're going through something, really caring about their issues. Stop being nosy and say something, or stop just being silent when you see someone going through something. Say something, and stop just being nosy and just looking on their page and seeing if what's going on. Say something. Be more involved. Be more actionary towards your fellow Blerd if you know that they are hurting or going through something. Okay, I will say first, make sure you know yourself outside of the culture, outside of the community, because a lot of people, grown folks, don't really know themselves, and that does take therapy, deep connection with yourself, relinquishing baggage or whatever, everything that you went through. It does take self reflection as well, before you get into any type of community that first know yourself, then know what you like, pick out something, find your tribe that really truly that you can connect with. I think that's really important, and you feel really truly safe with not just a tribe where they are popular girls or popular guys. I know you may, I know you little young Blerdy out there, you might feel that that's the right direction to go. And I'm not saying all popular cosplayers are rude or arrogant or or bad. I'm just saying that just don't go for a popular tribe or a popular group of people because that's because they are that way. You might let yourself down, and your expectations just might be too high at that point because a lot of people will show their true colors once you really get to know them. So and don't look down at the Blerds that have like 0 to none followers. They could be an extremely great person, fun to be around, connect with. Yeah, so make sure you are in a tribe, or you find your tribe that truly gets you, really truly get you. So that also requires vetting people, and really get to knowing them, and not just like attaching yourself really quickly to people in the Blerd community. So just I leave you with that. I leave you with that. So that's my advice to young Blerd out there. Just thank you, ladies. I really enjoyed this interview. So see you next time. Bye.